Over or under? What's going on, BLV football fans and my gridiron gamblers out there? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL picks video for week 17. Last week, we had one of the best weeks we've had all season picking totals this year. 11-5 on our over-under picks, which was actually even better than the straight-up selections. That is extremely rare, but man, we did it. 130, 105, and 3 is the record, and we're looking pretty good for this season. So let's continue with another great week of week 17. Gronk spiked the like button. Let me know in the comment section below your favorite total pick of the week, your favorite over-under bet. I love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly NFL picks, best bets, and more. Let's kick it off with Thursday Night Football, which you're probably watching this after this video was released, and you're probably already knowing the result. But for the sake of the picks, I must pick it. So I am going to go with the under. And the reason I'm going to go with the under here is, although Thursday Night Football kind of feels like it's been profitable towards the over as of late. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But the under here, with Joe Flacco playing a Jets defense that knows him well, a coaching staff that really doesn't want him to go off in this setting because they didn't re-sign him. They decided to go with Zach Wilson as the backup to Aaron Rodgers and not Joe Flacco. They never brought him in for another contract, right? They didn't really want him to play last year. They preferred a different quarterback, Mike White. Now Joe Flacco having a renaissance in Cleveland. What I don't like about this game for Cleveland is the Jets have a very good defense. And I think the Jets defense does travel. And the reason for that is their front seven is fast. Their front seven is vicious. They can rush the quarterback. And with Joe Flacco being a pretty stationary pocket passer with not a lot of movement, I think the Jets will create pass rush on passing downs, which is quite frequent this year for the Browns. Their run game has not been as quality as of late. I don't think they'll be able to run all over the Jets. I do think, though, that the Browns will understand that their defense can win this game by themselves. So they'll be conservative on offense, run the ball, utilize play action, keep Joe protected. Joe will understand that he should not be trying to force plays and make mistakes here because that's the only way the Jets can win. So I kind of feel like the Browns are going to play very conservative on offense. I think the Jets just won't be able to score. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball on the Browns in Cleveland. They've been a historic defense this year. And then I think the pass rush is going to completely overwhelm the Jets offensive line, which is one of the worst units in the league. Denzel Ward, Emerson, those guys can cover Garrett Wilson. I don't see many matchups that favor the Jets offensively here. So I'm going to go under 34 for Thursday night. Let's move to Saturday and Sunday action. We've got the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. This is tricky. I could see this one going either way, kind of dependent on what the Bills are going to do offensively. And I've quite frequently, as of late, picked the under in a lot of Patriots games, and I've been wrong a little bit more as of late. Like last week, obviously, was an over because the Patriots out of nowhere got up in the game. And the same thing happened with the Steelers game where New England got up in the game and it forced the other team to come back, and New England's defense kind of loosened up towards the end of the game, which has caused the over. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I actually think that New England's offense comes back down to earth early in the game. I think the Bills' defense stifles the run. I don't think Zeke's going to get much going. I don't really see a lot of favorable matchups outside of maybe like Demario Douglas in the slot position. But other than that, like, the Bills defense has been playing really, really well. They're at home. Bills Mafia will be on fire. They want to prove the Patriots that beat them earlier this year that they're the superior squad still. They want to get to the playoffs with some energy, with some fire, with some momentum. And I do think Josh Allen will move the ball, but I also am a little concerned with the Bills offense as of late. Just the rhythm in the passing game, the lack of ability to get open from the receiving core, and then the overabundance of running the ball. Like in this matchup, that's not how you want to beat the Patriots. Their pass defense has been weaker than their run defense this year. They've been one of the best run defenses in the league. So I think they should rely on Allen with a lot of quick passes. If they do that, maybe this goes over. But I'm going to lean towards the under just because I feel like it's a 27-10 type of game. Maybe like 24-13. So that's the way I see the game going. I'm going to take the under here, although not confident. Next, the Los Angeles Rams at the New York Giants. The total is 44 and a half. I like the over. I just feel like in these Rams games right now, you've got to go over. Matthew Stafford has been playing lights out. I think this is a really tough matchup for the Giants defense because they love to blitz, and Stafford is a great quarterback at sniffing out the blitz and going to the right spot with the ball. Cooper Kupp and Nakua will also be able to get open quickly, which is something that you don't want when you blitz. And then they have a good running game that will offset the Giants and be able to gash the Giants. So I think the Rams will get to high 20s. And then a matter of the Giants, I feel like Tyrod Taylor is a bonus. He won't turn the ball over necessarily, which is obviously not a good thing for the over because sometimes turnovers can lead to points. But I do feel like Tyrod is just an overall better quarterback, plays with more rhythm, more structure in his game than Tommy DeVito, and I think he gives more opportunities for guys like Darren Waller in the offense. So I think that it's an over 44 and a half. I'm also not convinced by the Rams defense, which helps it push over. Next, 49 and a half is the total in the 49er game, which is funny because it's the 49ers with a 49 and a half total. I'm going to go over. Washington's offense is still decent. Jacoby Brissett has been pretty good overall, coming in relief for Sam Howell. Now he's officially, I believe, going to start in this game. I don't think that Washington's going to throw all over San Francisco, and they certainly won't run all over San Francisco because they're not very good at running the ball. But I do think that they'll make enough plays and have a couple of drives in this game for this to go over, because I think San Francisco is going to have at least 35 points. Washington's defense is the worst in football right now, the easiest matchup for fantasy players out there, and I think this is a big Brock Purdy gets right spot with 4 or 5 touchdowns. So I think that San Francisco goes to Washington, puts up 30 plus, and Washington helps the over with 49 and a half. So it's high for a reason. It makes sense. Next, 38 for the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jags. This honestly is one of them that I'm not really sure about. I would stay away, but I like the under just because I think Jacksonville's offense has looked putrid for the last few weeks. Trevor Lawrence has looked lost. If it's CJ Beathard, and we know he's not very talented, and if Carolina has time to prepare for CJ Beathard, that obviously will help them in this game. The run game for Jacksonville is non-existent, and Carolina's weakness on defense is the run game. They're actually decent against the pass, especially in the secondary with their coverages. But the offense of Carolina has gotten a little bit more going. I think they just looked better because of Green Bay's defense and how bad they are. Hubbard, I don't think will be able to run all over Jacksonville. They did a really good job against the run against Tampa Bay. I think that will carry over here. I don't think the way to attack Jacksonville is running the ball. It's throwing the ball. And I don't think Bryce Young has enough options or really the talent to be able to put up points when he is the main component of the offense. So I'm going to go under 38. Next, we've got the Texans and the Titans at 44. This feels like an under. This feels way too high for some reason. Maybe it's because it's in Houston. That's why it's so high. But I just don't think the Titans are going to score more than 17 points. And I have enough respect for the Titans defensively. I think Houston will be extremely one-dimensional. And maybe that one dimension of passing the football will be enough with CJ Stroud back. But you're still dealing with a young quarterback coming off of an injury, having to be pushed right back onto a football field and making things happen. And although CJ Stroud has surpassed every expectation for his play, I mean, that is still a lot to ask. And then on the other side, I mean, quarterback play is a disaster. Tannehill, Levis is just up and down roller coaster. Their run game got stifled, got absolutely shut down by the Texans the last game. And I don't know. Like, I don't see anything for the Titans working here on offense. I think it's a one-sided game for the Texans offensively, and I just don't think they're going to put up like 30. I see like a 24-13, 24-16, 20, maybe a 27-17, but that's like pushing it. So I have this going under. Next, we've got the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. This is an extremely high total, and this is the game that is going to be played on Saturday. I'm sorry for the out-of-order nature of my video, but hey, this is an exciting game, so maybe make you watch a little bit more. But I do have the Cowboys and the Lions, and if I have to lean either way, I mean, this is a ridiculously high total, and there's reason for it, right? The Lions, I think, can run the ball. I think they'll be able to control the clock, and I think they understand they need to run the ball against Dallas. But I think if they run the ball, it will open up their passing game, because I think that will make Dallas a little bit more aggressive in playing people in the box, which will open up shots down the field. Now, the question is, can Detroit separate from the man coverage of Dallas? I think they'll have some issues with that. And I also think Dallas will be able to create some pressures through some creative stunts and getting pressure up the middle on Jared Goff with guys like Micah Parsons and the athletes they have up front. So that's concerning for Detroit in the passing game, but I think their running game will really be able to have success. On the other side, I think Dallas will be able to move the ball, especially through the air, but I think they'll sprinkle in the run well enough. I think Dallas will get to 30. It's a matter of how many points the Lions will score to keep this competitive. I want to lean towards the over. Like, I see a 31-27. I see Detroit staying in the game. So I'm going to go over here. I think this is warranted for the high total. Although these spots typically tell you to go under here, I'm going to go over. Next, Tampa Bay favored by 2.5 at home over the Saints. 42.5 is the total. I'm going over. The Saints offense hasn't been fantastic by any means, but what they're very good at is putting up garbage points. And from watching the Bucs over the last few years, being a Tom Brady guy, watching all their games, religiously and all that stuff, like, I know how the Todd Bowles defense works. I think they'll play well early in the game. Later in the game, I think they'll build a lead and they'll allow some points. So I think that the Saints, the way that they play, they like to, get some matchups on the outside. They'll hit a deep shot or two throughout the game, but it'll be very inconsistent. I don't think New Orleans will be able to run the ball all that well, but as long as the fourth quarter comes and they're trailing, they're going to put up points in the fourth quarter, and I think Tampa's going to put up points throughout the day. I like how Tampa's playing offensively. I think that they can move the ball through the air with Baker. I think they can run it a little bit because the Saints have not been very good against the run as of late. So I kind of see this as like a 27-20 for Tampa. So I think this goes over here. Next up, we've got the Baltimore Ravens in the game of the week versus the Miami Dolphins, sitting at a total of about 47. I actually like the under, which is why I have Jalen Ramsey as the thumbnail. I feel like the Ravens defense matches up pretty well with Miami. I am a little bit worried about Miami maybe trying to push the run game a little bit here, but I also don't know if Miami will be able to necessarily run the ball all that well against Baltimore. Despite Baltimore not being a very good run defense, I do feel like I'm just worried about the Dolphins' offensive line injuries. Now, maybe they get a little bit healthier for this game, but if they are injured, I think the thing that I look at is, guys like Matabuke and these athletes, the way that the Ravens defense is structured and built, we saw it against San Francisco. The Niners moved the ball really well, but it led to some turnovers with the Niners maybe being a little bit too pass heavy here. So if the Miami Dolphins are not able to really lean into the run game, I think it could lead to some dangerous, screen attempts, tipped passes, things like that could lead to turnovers. I also feel like pressure up the middle is going to be the recipe for Baltimore. And Baltimore does have a good secondary that's very creative, and I could see them catching Tua with a couple plays here and really clogging up the middle of the field and making life difficult for them. So I think Baltimore's defense may not always stop Miami. Miami's going to move the ball. They're going to score their points, but I think they're going to make enough stops. And then on the other side, Miami's defense has been very good. I think Miami's defense maybe matches up a bit better than San Francisco's defense does with Baltimore, just in terms of they're a little bit more creative with blitz packages and blitzing. They're a little bit better in the secondary to be able to match up and play a little bit more, zone, man, mix. And then they've got some really good athletes that I think can contain Lamar Jackson. So I do think that, and Miami's good against the run as well. So I think that Miami's defense comes to play. I think Baltimore's defense comes to play. And I think this is kind of like a little bit more grinded out, like 24-20, 23-21, that kind of weird score type deal in the 20s, but not quite pushing to a 30-point game. So that's kind of the way that I see it going. But who knows? Next, 38, Chicago Bears, Atlanta. This is an easy under for me. This is Atlanta. This is Chicago. Both teams have better defenses than offenses. Both teams are very run-oriented. Both teams are good against the run. This is very self-explanatory for me. I think, you can't trust Heineken. And then you've got DJ Moore banged up. You've got Darnell Mooney banged up. You've got Cole Kmet banged up. So the receiving core of the Bears is kind of up in the air. On the other side, the Falcons want to run the ball. They want to protect their quarterback, and that's not the way to beat Chicago. I also don't see Atlanta making many plays in the passing game. So I think this is going to be like 20-17, 17-14, 17-16. It's also in Chicago, outdoors, which isn't exactly great for a team in Atlanta. So I'm going to go under here. Next, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Arizona Cardinals. I like the over 48. I don't like the way the Eagles are playing. I don't like the way they're defending the run or the pass. I think their secondary is very soft and weak. I think their linebacker position is weak. I think Trey McBride can take advantage of that. I also feel like the receiving core, if Marquise Brown's in there, he should be able to make some plays. But regardless, Kyler Murray's movement, his ability to run, his ability to extend, I think he'll create plays both in and out of structure. And then I really like the Cardinals' running game with all the ways they can attack you, especially horizontally. And that will really stress these linebackers for the Eagles. On the other side, I think that Gannon, will know the Eagles pretty well in terms of the scheme. But I just think they're overwhelmed talent-wise. The Eagles' talent can overwhelm the Cardinals on that side of the ball. So I think the Eagles will run the ball really effectively and efficiently, and that will lead to passing attempts down the field for Hurts. So I think this goes over. I think the Eagles get to the 30s, and the Cardinals get to around 20, which leads to an over. Next, 43.5, the Indianapolis Colts and the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a rare Colts under, but this is more of like an understanding of how much I like the Raiders defense right now. I just love how they're playing. I think they're really stopping the run well. I think that their secondary is playing a lot better than I would have ever thought. Robert Spillane's been a heck of a pickup. Max Crosby's a machine. I think the Raiders will stop the run, force Minshew to beat them, and with a banged up Michael Pittman, I don't think it's going to be overly successful. On the other side, Aiden O'Connell's been kind of a disaster in moments this year, especially last week. I mean, just really bad quarterback play at times. I also feel like the Raiders have been just inconsistent as an entire offense. Very little creativity, very traditional offense that has been okay in the run game, okay in the pass game, but not overwhelming for a defense that's very structurally sound. I think the Colts will stop the run pretty well and force, O'Connell to make throws. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think this goes under 43.5. Next, 41 for the Seahawks and the Steelers. I wanted to initially lean towards an under, but for some reason I want to go over. I don't really know why, but right now gut is saying over. So let's just go with it. I do have respect for the Steelers pass rush, but they definitely could be had in the secondary. So I do think Geno can make some throws in this game. And I do think that the Seahawks offense, while they are very inconsistent, they certainly can make explosives. On the other side, we saw more explosives from Mason Rudolph, and the Seahawks defense is just not good. Now, the Steelers offense is not good either, but I do think the Steelers can run the ball in this game. I do think that the Steelers will be able to make some big shot plays to Pickens and Deontay Johnson. So, hey, I think this just goes over. I think this is going to be like leaning into the 20s, not as much the teens. So I'm going to go over as long as there's not like crazy rain or anything like that, which I'm not aware of. Next, 36.5 for the Denver Broncos, the LA Chargers. I like the over. I think this line is indicative of people not understanding Jarrett Stidham or the Russell Wilson situation. I think Stidham and the Broncos actually spark the offense a little bit. I think that Sean Payton brings more of the playbook out, and I think they have more creativity within the offense, and I think that leads to more points. So I think the Broncos will get to 24, 27 points against a not very good Charger defense. I also feel like the Chargers, with Easton Stick, more time to grow, this is the team you can run against, right? This is a team that you can lean on Eckler and Kelly and whoever else to run the ball a bit. Now, they won't have many weapons on the outside, but I do feel like Denver can be had in terms of the defense, as long as you're not turning it over and making stupid mistakes. So this is just a really low total. I'm going to go with the over because of the Jared Stidham, misevaluation. And then the other side, I just feel like Kellen Moore will figure out some plays to move the ball on the ground against the Broncos. Next, 44 for the Chiefs and the Bengals. This is going to be an interesting game. I like the under. Kansas City at home has been an under team. I think they're like 15-3 in the last 18 at home to the under. So this is an under. The Bengals defense is not good, but the Chiefs offense is a complete disaster. And I don't really see the Bengals moving the ball that well, just given the matchup. I think they'll struggle with Chris Jones up front. I think they'll also struggle with the man-to-man coverage of the Chiefs without Jamar Chase. And I feel like, yeah, you can run it a bit on the Chiefs, but I don't think that's going to sustain a lot of drives. So I think Spags is really going to test Browning in this game. And then on the other side, again, I think the Chiefs have to run the ball to have success. That's going to slow the game down. I don't think Mahomes is going to do all that much through the air here. He's going to be under duress a bit from Trey Hendrickson and company. So I think this is going to go under. And the final game is a 44.5 between the Packers and the Vikings. This is definitely over. I understand Addison's out, Hawkinson's out, Watson's out. There's some big players out, but both head coaches are offensive guys. This is in a dome. This is in a primetime spot. I think Nick Mullins is going to shred the Packers. No Alexander. This defense stinks. I think they'll run the ball well. I think they'll throw the ball well, especially off play action. I could see Jefferson having a field day. I think Osborne over the middle of the field is going to have a great game. Now, on the other side, Jordan Love against Brian Flores, yeah, a little bit of a tricky matchup, but we know that this defense likes to take chances, and I think the Packers have the speed to make them pay, and seeing the defense, firsthand already will definitely help them prepare for the second matchup this year. So I like the over here at 44.5. This feels like a 27-23. I like the over. Those are my over-under picks for week number 17. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to The Bottom Line View for more NFL picks just like this each and every week. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.